Well, good morning, everyone. That's the signal that we need to get started. Item 1 is to call the September 8th, 2022 meeting of the Retirement Board to order. Item number 2 is to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 11th, 2022. I have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item passes. Item number 3 is the consent docket. We have one item. I have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item passes. Item number 4 is to ratify approvals. I have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 5 is to approve the claims docket. I have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 6 is to approve the following applications for service retirement. I have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 7 is to receive report of death, approve continuation of pension to spouse. I have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 8 is to receive report of death, authorize payment of the $5,000 death benefit, authorize secretary to make necessary changes to conform on the following. I have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 9 is to receive report of death, authorize secretary to make necessary changes to conform on the following. I have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 10 is to approve the following application of vested rights. I have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 11 is items for individual considerations. Before we dive into these, Jason, would you mind getting up and just giving us an overview on what the first 3 items entail?
Sure. We discussed these last month, and I provided you just the excerpts from the material from last month. We're recommending providing notice of full redemption from 3 of the underlying strategies on the K2 Ascent platform for various reasons, both qualitative and just from a structure standpoint. As we talked about last month, we feel that the long-short allocation has drifted a little bit to growth and small cap, particularly technology, and so wanting to make some tweaks. Just administratively, there's notice requirements to put in for a redemption, that you have to have the notice in so many days before a liquidity date, and that's spelled out in here. The first one for Trian is the end of September, and then for SQN, it's the end of October. Swift Current Bridger, you have 2 tranches. The next available liquidity isn't until February of 2023, and then the second tranche is July of 2023, but we can go ahead and put in the notice now just to take care of that. This money will come back over time. It's laid out on slide 5 of this. The amounts will probably change because you're still participating in those investments, and these are based on June 30, 2022 values. But the recommendation is to provide notice of redemption to these, full redemption to those 3 underlying funds on the K2 Ascent platform.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so item number 11A is notice of full redemption of K2 SQN Fund Series on the K2 Ascent platform and liquidation of funds effective 12/31/2022. Have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item 11B is notice of full redemption of K2 Tryon Partners Series on the K2 Ascent platform and liquidation effective 12/31/2022. Have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item is approved. Item 11C is notice of full redemption of K2 Swift Current Bridger Partner Series on K2 Ascent platform and liquidation of funds effective February 28th, 23 and July 31st, 23. Have a motion and a second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. And finally, item 11D is to authorize the chairman to execute all necessary documents to transition in an efficient manner from Times Square small mid growth strategy to small cap growth strategy with Silvercrest.
Again, this is to affect delegating the administrative authority to affect the decisions that were made at last month's meeting to move from Times Square to Silvercrest.
Any questions on this one? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion. Have a motion and a second. Record your vote. Item is approved. Item number 12 is to receive the investment consultant report.
So you all should have the monthly report in front of you. August turned out, for I guess from the time I saw you, we were talking about a rebound in markets with 10-year Treasury yield dropping from mid-June until or mid part of August, and we saw equities rally pretty substantially in the month of July and through the first half of August, only to see that unwind in the second half of August pretty dramatically as the Fed announced expectations for further rate increases. I think the news in Europe as far as the gas pipeline is creating a lot of concerns about ongoing recession fears in Europe and slowdown in growth in China. And so we saw a pretty big sell-off in the second half of the month of August. That said, we are pleased to see that your portfolio did protect in the month, down a little bit less than the markets. You were down a little less than 2%, and the policy benchmark was down 2.8%. The long-short equity, which we just talked about, and we've talked quite a bit about this year, the challenges that we've seen there really were in the first part of the year, from November through January, as we started to see rates going up and these growth stocks really rolling over pretty substantially in that growth bias there. We feel like the long-short allocation, the underlying managers have reined in risk pretty substantially in those portfolios, where we have a beta or market sensitivity of about a little less than 0.6 to the market. And you're seeing that provide pretty good protection in the second half of the month of August, so that your long short was slightly down in the month of August, where the ACWI, or the global stocks benchmark, was down almost 3.6%. Large cap composite, while this is primarily benchmark driven with your SSGA S&P 500 index fund and the Intex strategy, that Intex strategy does take some different weightings within large cap, and in certain periods of time can deviate a bit. And we got a little bit of protection in the month, and that being your largest allocation certainly helped relative to the policy index. Continue to be cautious. If we go back to the first page and just look at the overall asset allocation, you're a little bit underweight to equities. Fixed income is essentially at targets. Real estate, I think we've talked about this a little bit the last few months, because fixed income and equities are both down dramatically on the year. Real estate has done well. Also, it's not priced on a daily basis, and so its weighting in the portfolio has moved up relative to the other big pieces in the portfolio. You have the opportunistic real estate. While we have a target of 5% and you're at about 1.5%, we have pretty significant outstanding commitments to opportunistic real estate that we made in 2021 and 2022, and that's to Starwood, Angelo Gordon, and Blackstone. The Starwood, there is about $12 million in unfunded commitment. Angelo Gordon and Blackstone have yet to call any capital. Blackstone was the most recent commitment. So in total, we have about $31 million in unfunded commitments to opportunistic real estate. It's not going to be called in a hurry, but we would anticipate with the drawdowns that we're seeing across markets, equities and fixed incomes, you'll start to see some weakness in real estate, and that would actually be an opportunity for these managers to put money to work. So we're working with Regina on doing some additional rebalancing within real estate, putting in, just like we're doing with the, this isn't full redemptions, but with the Morgan Stanley Prime Property Fund, putting in for a redemption for the end of the year for $15 million, which is a little bit more than 10% of that allocation, just to get in front of that. Much like the long-short equity strategies, your Morgan Stanley Prime Property Fund has quarterly liquidity with 90 days notice. So to get in the queue for 12/31, we have to put in a redemption by September 30. So that's just a rebalancing that we'll work with staff on. And that will, it won't all be paid at once either. We anticipate that will take a few quarters for that money to be called down, because much like you, most institutional investors are overweight to real estate right now. So we're seeing exit queues from these core real estate funds where they're having to limit how much that they can pay out in any given quarter. But we're just wanting to get in front of that. With the exception of that, markets certainly continue to be challenging. We're comfortable with how the portfolio is positioned. We've addressed an issue within small cap growth, and no other manager issues or concerns at this time. As we move toward the end of the year, as I've talked about, we'll revisit asset allocation in January. Our expectation, based on where we are today with rates rising and equity valuations coming down, our forward-looking expectations, and this isn't the next quarter or next year, but the next 5 to 10 years, are going to look a little bit better than they've looked the last couple of years. When we've come in here in the beginning of this year and the beginning of last year and even the year before, coming off such a strong market environment over the last 10 years and interest rates being near below 2% on the 10-year, our expectations for the next 5 to 10 years for a diversified portfolio like this was closer to 6.5% to 7%. And you've recognized that by bringing your return assumption down in a pretty prudent in a very prudent manner. I'm not suggesting that that should be revisited and changed. I'm just saying that based on where we are today with a little bit higher rates and equities having sold off quite a bit, our expectations for this portfolio should be a little bit better by maybe 1 to 1.5% over a 5 to 10 year period from our starting point. And we'll look at that again in January. Trying to recognize the time we took last month and be a little bit briefer today. So,
Anyone have any questions for Jason? Okay, hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion to receive the investment consultant report. Have a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Marty?
Yes, I'm not seeing anything pop up.
Item is approved. That brings us to item number 13, comments from board, staff, and citizens.
I'd just like to recognize Deborah Duty, our new accountant, to oversee ERS. So we're glad to have her. She joined us a couple weeks ago, so we're glad to have you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hearing no comments, we are adjourned at 10:16. Thank you, everyone.